Welcome back to Twin Football. This is the YouTube channel that covers the NFL and the Premier League, as well as the United States men's national team going 2 for 2 over this past international break. We were off last week, but it is so good to be back. And today's episode, Jacob, we got week 12 of the NFL picks, predictions, playoff implications here. How excited are you for this week's matchups?
Man, I can't believe that we're already in week 12. It's really heating up. Some teams that we would have expect to have already secured a playoff spot are still struggling just to get in. So we're getting into the stretch here. People have to focus up.
Yes, huge game. All the talk after week 11, the Bears taking care of business and moving to 7-3, waking up Monday morning atop of the NFC North, whereas the Chiefs fall to AFC West opponents, the Denver Broncos, and fall to 5-5. Patrick Mahomes' worst start after 10 games of the season. So, Jacob, before we dive into our picks and predictions for week 12, we have to go through these two storylines. And I want to ask you, who would you rather be here going into week 12 in terms of making the playoffs? Would you rather be the Chicago Bears, like we said, sit at 7-3 atop of the division, a half a game ahead of the Green Bay Packers, a full game ahead of the Detroit Lions, with games against Pittsburgh, the Eagles, Green Bay twice, the Browns, the Niners, and that final game could be huge there against Detroit? Or would you rather be the 5-5 Chiefs sitting ninth in the AFC with games against the Colts, Dallas, Houston, the Chargers, the Titans, the Broncos, and then the lonely Raiders there in week 18? Remember, the Chiefs are 2-4 in the conference and 4 games back here, or 3 games in the loss column in the division. So who would you rather be? Who would you rather be this morning?
Okay, so we are in week 12. Like we said, it's getting to the latter half of the season, but there's still 7 games to go. Chiefs currently sit only 2 games back from the Bears in terms of record. Obviously, their head-to-head doesn't matter, but both these teams are not going to get first place in their division. The Bears could take a picture that they're on top of the NFC North right now, but that's not going to last very long. Both these teams are going to be in a wild card spot, most likely. I'd much rather have the best quarterback in the world in Patrick Mahomes. Sure, his team is struggling. He lost and didn't play very well against the Broncos last week, but I'm siding Patrick Mahomes every day of the week over Caleb Williams. I'm not convinced by the Bears. They've pulled off a lot of late wins, and I think having Ben Johnson has really helped them not lose games late like they've been so accustomed to doing the last few years. They've really tidied that up, and I think that's been huge for them. But overall, Patrick Mahomes is infinitely better under center, and I'm going Chiefs if I had to pick one place to be in. But the Bears are doing well. Good for them. I think there's a decent chance they make the playoffs, but I wager the Chiefs are in a better spot going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think this week goes a long way in deciding both of these, because the Bears is the first time in a long time they've been atop the division in so long. If they can take care of business against the Steelers, stay tuned for our pick and prediction on that game here. Then they've been in control for more than 1 week, and therefore maybe they can build some confidence there. And as well for the Chiefs. I mean, if you fall here to 5-6, losing to yet again another playoff team, I think that's going to really put a hinder here on the Chiefs season. So I think both of them, this game this week is absolutely massive. So let's go ahead, dive into our picks and predictions. So we start off with the Bills taking on the Houston Texans. Both of these teams look to be in the AFC playoff picture come the end of the season, and both look up in their respective division, trying to keep pace with the Patriots and the Colts, respectively. Buffalo have played 4 away games so far this season, and it has been the tale of the first half, and 2 tails at that. The 2 losses that they have away to Miami and away to Atlanta, their first half, they average 5.5 drives. 2.5 of those drives are 3 and outs. 1.5 turnovers in the first half, and 3 points. In the 2 wins that they have on the road against Carolina and the Jets, they were able to run the football. They were able to move that defensive line of the Carolina Panthers in whichever way they wanted. A good run defense, but they were able to exploit that. 40 points in that game, 30 plus against the Jets, 20 points around average at halftime. So, what version of the Bills are we going to get? I think it is the version of the Bills that scores an average of 3 points in a half. You know why I think that? Because in 2024, last year, when these two teams played, Buffalo had 6 drives in the first half, 3 of them, 3 and outs, 0 turnovers, 78 yards, and 3 points in that game. That is exactly their average in the 2 losses so far this season. And I think we're going to get a replica of that, but against a better Houston Texans defense. And I think that is going to go a long way in getting the Houston Texans the upset at home. I don't think Buffalo is going to be able to move the ball and get the chunk plays that they have so far this season. They lead the league in 20-plus yard plays. I don't think this Texans defense is going to give that to them. They're going to have to methodically move up and down the field. If they also have a slow start, like they have done in 2 of their last 3 away games, the Texans are going to have a halftime lead here, and you don't want that defense to have a lead. Houston also has the better kicker, in my opinion. Fairbairn won this game off a game-winning 59-yard field goal last year. Give me the Texans at home.
And I have to be honest, just on paper, Josh Allen versus Davis Mills, I don't think I would have been able to not pick the Bills there. But D'Amico Ryans and that defense are amazing. They've been good all season, keeping teams to low scoring games.
It's just if they can get Cook running. If they can get Cook out in open space and get these chunk plays, that's the recipe for success for the Bills. They weren't able to do that against Miami. They weren't able to do that against Atlanta. And this is the best defense they've played all year. That's why I think they struggle. That first half is going to be huge. I think Texans get a lead, and then that's the position you want Davis Mills to be in. You want him to have a lead. You want him to lead on that defense come the second half and that fourth quarter stretch. And I think it'll be just enough for the win.
Next up, we have the Steelers taking on the Bears. The Steelers are coming off an important win against the Bengals to remain first place in the AFC North. The Ravens are right behind them, though, in that AFC North. Aaron Rodgers left the game with a fractured left wrist and was replaced by Mason Rudolph. Rudolph came in and had a really solid game and held down the fort. Granted, it was against a horrible Bengals defense, but still he had a good game. It looks like Rodgers might go this weekend, but it's still up in the air. It really looked like his wrist was bothering him a lot during the game. He doesn't need surgery, but if he goes, that wrist is still going to be bothering him. So we'll see if the old man can go. The Bears are coming off another win to take hold of first place in their division as well. It's their third win in a 1-score game on the bounce. Each of these games were against a backup quarterback or effectively a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. So not to be a buzzkill to Bears fans, but you won 1-score games against backup quarterbacks effectively. The defense has been really solid getting turnovers in each of the last few games, which has helped them immensely. And Caleb Williams has been really clutch down the stretch when his team really needed him. This is a really interesting game. Both teams desperately need the win to stay first in their division, and I'm going Steelers to win this one.
Yeah, I think, we went through that schedule. We both think that the Chiefs are going to have a better chance of making the playoffs than the division leading 7-3 Chicago Bears are. You think they should be able to get there. The Bears have yet to beat a team with 5 or more wins this season, a winning record, really. And Pittsburgh has 6 wins. So that's simple.
And that's
nine win New England travel to the jungle to take on the Bengals, who will be without Jamar Chase. Turns out if you spit at someone and then lie about it, you will be suspended, especially if it's caught on camera. Who would have seen that coming? Jamar Chase will be missing this one, and I think that is a huge blow for a team that their only chance of winning is to go touchdown for touchdown, and they lose, obviously, their biggest weapon. But on top of that, they also would rely on turnovers, and they're going against one of the best teams in terms of not turning the ball over. Yes, they had a lot of early season fumbles in the run game. They had 5 fumbles. Trevion Henderson is now the main back there. We've seen what he's been able to do. One of only 2 rookies in Patriots histories with 3 touchdowns in a single game. He also has only fumbled once since high school. Once. He's not going to fumble the ball. He has been able to exploit some of the better run defenses in the NFL so far this season. The Bengals are definitely not one of those. Drake May has been pretty good with the football, a big reason why he has been near the top 3 of the MVP candidate list over the last couple of weeks. Nothing but a Patriots win, who I have picked against many times this season, but they have proven themselves, and this is not a game that they would drop. Give me the Patriots on the road.
Yeah, Drake May and Stephon Diggs have really found their synergy the last few weeks, and I think that continues against a poor Bengals secondary. Next up, we have the Giants taking on the Lions. The Giants are coming off a close loss against the Packers. The famous Jameis magic was not enough to get them their third win of the season. He threw a bad pick at the end of the game when they were pushing for a score that could have forced overtime. Looked like it was just a miscommunication with the receiver. Jameis thought he was cutting to the corner and he ran a different route. The Giants have had an up and down year, but it's looking like they should just coast to a top pick in the 2026 draft for the rest of the season. It looks like Jackson Dart is still in concussion protocol. He might go this weekend, but honestly, I think they should just keep him out until they are absolutely sure he's good to go. He's done enough this year that you are confident in him starting next season, and they just can't risk him getting injured anymore. He's already had multiple concussions in his first year. He's really got to learn how to slide in the offseason if he wants to have a longer career in the NFL. But I'm really high on that guy. The Lions are coming off a loss against the Eagles. It's the first time they were held to single digits all season. The Eagles defense has been playing out of their mind lately. Lions just couldn't get anything going in the run game. The injuries to their offensive line and tight end, Sam Laporta, who is a great tool in the blocking game, was really prevalent in the last few games, and especially this one. Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't need that much of a hole, but he needs some help blocking, and they might be one of the most injured offensive lines. It sucks to see that because this is such a complete team. I think they win this one. I think they struggle against that defense a little bit, but the Lions are going to take this one.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs seemed anytime they're able to actually get him the ball and in any type of space, it was 7, 10, 12, 15 yards last week against the Eagles. Every other play, incomplete or a loss. It seemed like definitely a good guy to give the football to against the Giants for a win. Next up, we have the other two teams here in the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. If you look at the last 3 games for JJ McCarthy, you said he was essentially a rookie. I think you could just lean towards essentially a backup quarterback, to be honest with you. The more you let him throw, the more you are going to lose. It's just facts. You go all the way back to
That's not
college.
Ohio State Buckeye bias.
It's not. It's not. It's not the fact that I saw this guy win a football game with completing 9 passes. Okay. I get it. It's the recipe for success. Okay. It's just how it is. It's the facts. He has thrown it in the last 2 games. He's thrown it 32 and 42 times, under 50% completion percentage in both of those games. Both of those very poor offensive performances, and both of them losses. That was against Chicago and Baltimore. They played Detroit 3 weeks ago. He only threw the ball 25 times, slightly over 50% completion percentage, and they won the football game. It's how they're going to win football games. They just can't rely on him. And so they need to establish a run game. Well, they go against the second best run defense in the Green Bay Packers this week. And so now they're going to have to rely on him. Green Bay today, Green Bay tomorrow, Green Bay 12 times on Sunday. This is going to be a cakewalk, not a place you want to be as the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Vikings beat the Packers twice last year. Why? Because Sam Darnold outplayed Jordan Love. They both weren't able to really run the football, but Sam Darnold outperformed Jordan Love, not turning the ball over and making the big plays when they needed to get both the wins. In this matchup, Green Bay has the better quarterback by a mile. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, Sam Darnold is playing for the Seahawks against the Titans this weekend. Seahawks are coming off a tough loss in an important game against the Rams, which gave up control of the NFC West. They had a chance to win it on a last-second Jason Myers 61-yard field goal. to be fair, they were much closer in this one than I thought they would be. The fact that Sam Darnold had his worst game as a Seahawk with no touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and the defense was still able to keep them in this game against the front runner for the MVP in Matthew Stafford is a huge positive that they can take away from that game despite the loss. The Seahawks are the real deal. The Titans, however, not so much. They're coming off a close loss against Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. Cam Ward with one of his better games this season against a strong Texans defense. But if you're Mike McCoy, I think by this point in the season, you would have really hoped that Cam Ward would look more comfortable in an NFL uniform at this point through the season. It's hard to pick the Titans in any week. I think the Seahawks are super strong. I'm going Seattle.
Yeah, this is just keep trying until Cam Ward fits season for the Titans, and
Yeah.
it will include a loss to the Seahawks. Next up, we have the game of the week. The game that we said earlier in the episode is the game to decide if the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, if they're going to resurge here in the last 7 games and earn a playoff spot, even though probably not going to win the division. Can they at least get into a wild card spot? They take on an Indianapolis Colts team that is coming off a bye, that is averaging 29 points per game, and a team that hasn't lost a game where they've scored 29 or more points anytime this season. So not only do they score a lot, but they also are pretty decent on the defensive side of the football. They've only scored under 29 twice. That was in 2 games that they scored 20 points. In one, they turned the ball over 6 times and still scored 20 points. The Colts can score, and they can score in a number of ways. And they've had 2 weeks here to prepare. And the Chiefs, on the other hand, just played one of the best defenses in the league in the Denver Broncos in a slugfest at altitude. Give me the Chiefs. I don't know. There's no reason to pick the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 0-5 against playoff teams this year. 0-5 against playoff teams this year. This is another playoff team, obviously, in the Indianapolis Colts battling for the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Colts, on the other hand, travel well. The Colts, on the other hand, are on a bye. The Colts, on the other hand, are 2-1 against current playoff teams. And the one game they lost was to the Rams, who everyone thinks is the best team in the NFC. And they arguably should have won that game. Give me the Chiefs. Just give me the Chiefs. These are the games the Chiefs win. There is no reason for the Chiefs to win this game.
They're
They
desperate
need
for the win.
game, and they're at home.
Andy Reid will not let them
Lose
this game. I agree, even though all signs point to the Colts. Perfect analysis. Next up, we have the Jets taking on the Ravens. The Jets are coming off a loss on Thursday Night Football against the Patriots that broke their 2-game winning streak. Without Garrett Wilson on the field, this team just has no passing game. The earliest he can return is early December, so they are going to have to figure out their pass game until then. They ran the ball well against the Patriots, but the Jets offense is just so one-dimensional. It's just handing the ball off to Breece Hall or a quarterback sneak. That's literally all they do to get any yards. Justin Fields has had under 100 yards passing in multiple games this season, especially since Garrett Wilson got injured. Aaron Glenn, though, with a mini bye week since they played on Thursday Night Football to prepare for a Ravens team with 4 straight wins. They're coming off a tough win against the Browns. They were losing the entire second half until a brilliant 4th and 1 play call, which Mark Andrews took to the house after getting the direct snap. Lamar Jackson had a rough game with 2 interceptions and his worst completion percentage since December last year against the Steelers. And they're only 1 game back in the AFC North. It's crazy after their start. Even before Lamar Jackson got injured, they were not doing well. And then he got injured for a while, that they have a chance to capture the AFC North with 7 games to go. And I honestly think that they do it. And I think they continue their winning streak here to make it 5 against the Jets.
Yeah, definitely need to pick up a win here because we think the Steelers will also take a win and stay up there in the AFC North. The Browns, on the other hand, are trying to sink not only in the AFC North, but in the AFC altogether, in the NFL altogether. Both of these teams, the Browns and the Raiders at 2-8, really mail in these seasons right now and just try and play for a higher draft pick. The exciting part about this game is we get to watch 2 of the best sack leaders here in the NFL. Obviously, Myles Garrett with 11 sacks in his last 4 games, 15 on the season, pushing for the sack record of 22 and a half. I think he's going to get there, and he's taking on a terrible Raiders offense that gives up sacks like it is Christmas. The Raiders, on the other hand, have Max Crosby, 6 sacks on his own. 33% of the Raider sacks come through Max Crosby, and he gets to take on Shedeur Sanders, who was confirmed to be the starter. He went 4 for 16 in his short NFL debut at the end of last game against the Ravens when Gabriel got out with a concussion. I think he is going to be a turnover and a sack machine, sacked twice in those 18 dropbacks that he had against the Ravens. And now he gets to tee up here for Max Crosby. And so, Jacob, the only question I have, the only interesting thing that I'm going to be waiting for this game, because I think these two teams would eventually tie if given it, because both of them just fail so badly as a franchise that they both want to lose, so they'll both tie, is the only thing I'm really watching this game for is, will there be more defensive touchdowns than offensive touchdowns?
Most likely.
I
There's
think
not going to
yes.
be any offensive ones.
There
So.
was a defensive exactly, right? There was a defensive touchdown in this game last year. That was the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns defense again gets a defensive touchdown, and that is going to be the difference, and they will win this football game just because of the fact that I can't pick a tie. I could totally see a tie.
I really want to see who wins the sack battle, Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. They're both going to have multiple, I bet, in this one. What an interesting, horrible matchup in that one. Next up, we have the Jaguars taking on the Cardinals. The Jaguars are coming off their best win of the season against a solid Chargers team. They kept Justin Herbert and the Chargers to only 135 yards of total offense. Defensive masterclass for the Jags in that one. Trevor Lawrence did not have a great game, but the run game and their defense completely dominated the Chargers' defensive and offensive lines. The Cardinals are coming off a really tough loss against the 49ers. Jacoby Brissett with 450 yards in the air and an NFL record 47 completions. Honestly thought that would have been a little higher, but
Right.
47's a ton of completions, and Jacoby Brissett was slinging it. The penalties and turnovers just completely killed the Cardinals. They had 17 penalties for 130 yards, which is the most for any team this season. It's going to drive head coach Jonathan Gannon absolutely insane, especially when he's probably got the hottest seat in the NFL right now. I think the Cardinals are better than their record indicates, but I think I've been a little too harsh on the Jaguars, and I think they take this one.
No, you don't. Give me the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to take this game. We don't believe in the Jaguars for a reason. It is because they cannot pass the football. They go against one of the better secondaries. Those trio of cornerbacks will make it difficult for the Jags. Cardinals, check up. The Cardinals, we believe in Brissett, and we believe in the Cardinals.
We do. Okay.
Yeah,
sounds
we do.
good.
Jaguars, we said here 2 weeks ago, the Jaguars were the biggest frauds in the NFL at 6 wins or at 5 wins. They're now at 6 wins. They're at the biggest frauds at 6 wins. Give us the Cardinals. The Eagles, everyone keeps telling me that they're frauds. Everyone, the offense isn't working. They rely too much on the run game that is not as good as 2,000-yard run game as it was last year, like every run game in the NFL this year, because that was ridiculous. They're banged up, all of these different things. And
I've never seen a team win so much and get criticized so much than the Eagles the last couple of seasons.
Exactly. When the Chiefs were doing this exact thing last year, winning 11 one-score games, everyone was, you had some haters, but there was still this belief of inevitability that they were going to get over the line, and you weren't questioning whether or not they were going to make the playoffs or win a playoff game. You were only questioning, will they win the Super Bowl? And that is the same way that we need to be treating the Philadelphia Eagles. 31-8 in one-score games since 2022, 7-1 in one-score games so far this season. My view on the Eagles are they do what they need to do to win, and they can do it still in a multiple of ways. The biggest problem so far this year, everyone has been saying, is they can't pass the football. They can't pass the football. In my opinion, they choose not to pass the football. And why would you when you have one of the best offensive lines, left side of the line, right side of the line, one of the best running backs you can run in any which way? You have a running quarterback. Why would you want to throw the football? They've chosen to run the football. It has gotten them in a little trouble when they've run into injuries. Now they will have injuries this week. No Lane Johnson. Jurgens is also the center battling with a little bit of an injury. We'll see if he goes. He's missed a couple games this year. They missed Dickerson for a couple games this year as well. We saw that they had problems against the Denver Broncos. As a result, that offensive line just wasn't as good as it has been, and they weren't able to run the football effectively. And that is a big reason why the Eagles have one of the lowest third down percentages in the NFL. That is the reason that their offense sputters at times. They had 8 drives last week in a winning effort where they had 5 plays or less and then punted. That they just can't convert here on third down consistently to be able to sustain drives all the time, but they find ways to win. This week, they go against a Dallas Cowboy defense that has been reinvented. They got a bunch of pieces back, and they obviously added Quinnen Williams in the trade deadline to play for his first game against the Raiders and wreak havoc. He's going to be a big plug for them to try and stop Saquon Barkley this week. But the Dallas Cowboys defense over the season is the worst third down percentage defense, allowing conversion on 50% of the third downs. You give this Eagles offense that type of third down conversion rate, and they will wipe the floor with you with or without Lane Johnson. Give me the Eagles.
Yeah, I like that pick. Cowboys look better though. Next up, we have the Falcons taking on the Saints. The Falcons are coming off a tough overtime loss against the Panthers. Their defense in that secondary let Bryce Young throw for a career high 450 yards, along with 3 touchdowns. His previous high was 120 yards less than that. No disrespect, but a little disrespect to Bryce Young. If your secondary is in serious trouble if you allow Bryce to do that to you. Michael Penix Jr. left the game with a knee injury and might have torn his ACL. It looks like he might be out for the season. Kirk Cousins has not looked like Kirk. You like that Cousins this season when he has played, but he's only started 1 game. The Falcons got dominated by a bad Dolphins team in that only start. But I think he turns it around in this one. The Saints are coming off a bye week, and before that, their second win of the season against the Panthers. Tyler Shugg with by far his best game in his young career. He seems to have found a good synergy with star receiver Chris Olave, but was also able to find 6 other targets. Just a solid game from the rookie. I think Kirk, you like that Cousins, has a legacy game and takes this one.
Yeah, it's crazy when they signed Kirk Cousins and signed him for the $180 million contract and then drafted Michael Penix. And you had so many people saying, why in the world would you do both of these moves and just cause, so much chaos? And the whole idea was to prevent a bad QB situation. And now you have a injured, riddled QB and a QB that just doesn't seem like he is able to do anything in Kirk Cousins, that if he loses this game, has started 2 games and has lost against the Dolphins and the Saints as multiple point favorites in both games. A terrible quarterback situation if they go ahead and lose this game. Would have never seen that coming when he drafted Penix and signed Kirk Cousins. Tampa Bay has been super glad that they signed Baker Mayfield, but have been pissed off at the recent schedule. Insane schedule. 5 playoff teams in the last 6 games for Tampa Bay, and now they have to travel all the way to take on the NFC leading Los Angeles Rams with MVP candidate Matthew Stafford and the second best scoring defense in the league. Tampa Bay has made a effort in every single game. They have a great attitude. They might get Bucky Irving back. They might get Chris Godwin back to help get that offense going a little bit more. They scored 30 plus points against Buffalo, but it wasn't enough. I don't think they're going to score that many points this time around away from home at the Rams, but I think you just believe in Tampa Bay just because of their guts. They've been able to push out a bunch of wins, a lot of wins 3 points or less this year just by pure heart and determination and getting over the line. I don't think you want to be in a 1-score game against Matthew Stafford the way he's playing right now. So I'll go Rams. But I think this could be another statement game here for Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers in keeping this close all the way to the wire. And they hope to probably see them again in the playoffs. But give me the Rams.
Yeah, Rams legend Baker Mayfield is going to want to stick it back to his old team. Honestly, that's going to be a great game. I think Matthew Stafford's playing better than anyone in the league, and it's hard to pick against him right now, but I could see that one going either way. Next up, we have the Panthers taking on the Niners. The Panthers are coming off that big overtime win against the Falcons. Bryce Young played out of his mind. And to his credit, even though I'm critical of him, he made some really, really great throws. The Falcons do have a shorter defensive line, so maybe it made it a little bit easier for him to see the field. It was Tedero McMillan's best career game. The Falcons prepared well for the Panthers' run game and did shut down a red hot Rico Dowdle, but they got torched by Bryce through the air. The Niners are coming off a big win in Brock Purdy's return against the Cardinals. Whether Mac Jones is on the field or Purdy, they still have a healthy CMC, and that alone gives you a better offense than most. Brock, though, had a really solid game with 3 scores and good efficiency. I did think he got a little lucky with forcing it a few times, which has been, in my opinion, his biggest issue the last year or so. In that one, he did not get punished, but if he continues to force it like that, it's going to get intercepted and it's not going to look so good. George Kittle with a great game, and he seems super stoked for Brock to be back. Malik Mustafa, the rising star safety, back from injury. He had a great interception in that one. Eddie Pinheiro had 2 extra point misses to give Niners fans some Jake Moody PTSD. He did make up with it, though, 3 for 3 from some distance field goals. He strained his hamstring, so we'll have to see if he's good to go in this one. It's just not a Niners game without a couple injuries, and they had a couple more players on defense leave the game injured this week. Shanahan and Robert Saleh deserve all the praise they are getting for dragging this team to a 7-4 record despite all the injuries, and I think they get their 8th one this weekend against the Panthers.
Yeah, what a crazy Monday we could have here if all games kind of go a certain way. You could have the Bears and the Panthers, both division leaders, going into week 13. But as we have it, we have both of them losing this week. So we'll see with our correct
We're
14 of
just haters.
picks. Yeah. 14 picks here will bring our total up to 117 and 59 on the year as we look to keep rising up the ESPN rankings. So again, make your picks, pick along with us on ESPN, get your account, join our twin football group, and always remember, enjoy the football.